All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with our County Administrator, Brian Rogers, and we want to speak to you today about a wonderful project that was brought to our attention and we wanted to bring to you, and that's the fact that we have first responders and EMTs on location at 5 different areas in our community, right, Brian?
Well, there are 5 stations that have 24/7 coverage, but we also have 2 additional ones that are 5 days a week coverage. To kind of some of our busier hours, they're strategically placed also, but we do have 5 stations that are 24/7 manned with cross-trained firemen, EMTs.
Okay. Why was that so important?
Well, the commissioners several years ago, we did some studying, what was the most important things that a government could provide to its citizens. We're a large geographic area. There was a lot of concern from our citizenry that medical services may not be readily available to them in a timely manner because they do live so far out there.
Yeah.
We had huge amounts of call volume. A lot of the baby boomers are getting older, things of that nature. So we realized we were going to have to do something. There was going to be some out-of-box thinking, and how could we provide that service in a most economical way? So the commissioner said, you know what, come up with some ideas. Staff recommended strategically locating some cross-trained individuals, because 85% of our emergency calls are medical related. It's not, about 15% are fire related. So, but the volunteer fire base has been going down and down and down over the years due to people just not being on the farms, out in the communities, they're at jobs that won't allow them to be able to participate. So, we're having to fill that void at the same time. So we came back with this medical emergency first responder program where they're cross-trained as a fireman, as an EMT. They can stabilize, they can perform a lot of the work until the ambulance get there. And then once the ambulance gets there, hopefully the preliminary assessments and all those things have been accomplished. Treatment is already being provided, and we can get that person in the back of the truck and get them quicker to the hospital for a better, a better outcome. So,
what do you call increased volume? What kind of volume do you get as far as phone calls from citizens?
Well, from a 911 standpoint, it's amazing the amount of traffic that goes in and out of our 911 system. But just from sheer medical calls, we're getting anywhere from a 500 to 600 call volume increase each year. For the last 7 years, actually, it's been anywhere from 550 to 700 calls a year that it's just going up. So this year, right now, we're on board to answer approximately 10,500 medical emergency calls. And we have 5 24-hour, 7-day-a-week ambulances on staff, but they're constantly getting tied up all on calls.
Okay.
And that way these medical first responders fills that void while they get to the scene faster, they're there, and they're already starting the medical treatment. And like I said, you have to give kudos to the commissioners. We've been able to do this without having to raise taxes. And it's probably the best service I believe we've ever provided. I think one of our commissioners, Jeff Davis, coined it the best when he said, we can scrape all the roads, we can cut all the grass and pave all the roads we want, but people are going to remember us the most. When they call 911, everything that happens after that call has been made. That's really how we're going to be judged. Are we doing a good job for our citizens?
Yeah. Yeah, and you said that earlier, and that's what sparked us to want to come down and share with you, ladies and gentlemen, this process. So you said that Don Bryant really heads that division of it up, right?
We did separate it out since fire, they're cross-trained as fire and EMS, and they're in the fire station. So Don Bryant is our fire chief. He kind of championed this and just really has done a great job. Locating the personnel that can do it, that can be cross-trained. We got a lot of people that are EMTs, and we got a lot of people that are firemen. We don't have a lot of people that are firemen and EMTs. So, we had to put together some additional training, some coursework. But Don has done a yeoman's job with this, him and his staff. He's got a lot of people helping him. But we're so blessed to have someone of Don's caliber leading the way.
All right. We'll take a short break, ladies and gentlemen, and then Brian has it lined up for us to go out and speak to Don. When we come back, Don Brian will be with us, so stay tuned.
Local events coverage brought to you in part by Jeff Davis and Altera Networks. Altera Networks, premium IT systems backed with world-class support, IT consulting and on-site networking, ongoing support and security. That's Alterra Networks. Jeff Davis also serves our community as Lawrence County Commissioner, District 3, and continues to serve our community at large.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're out at the EMA office, the EMS at Lawrence County, and we're here with Chief Don Bryant. And Don Bryant is here today to be able to share with us the different locations that we've been talking to you about that the county administrator has already explained to us. So, Don, good morning to you.
Good morning. I hope you're doing well this morning.
Doing real well. So what we're looking at is the opportunity again to service more of Lawrence County, to be able to respond, first responders at different locations throughout our community. So as we go forward, Don, just share with us here the different locations.
Well, basically, we are trying to get first responders that are EMT trained and firefighter trained spread around our county so we can enhance our response time to our different emergency calls. So in doing this, we have 5 what we call full-time stations. We have someone on duty there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we kind of spreaded it out. Our hub is kind of right here on Valambrosia Road, right there at Willie Paul Parkway. That is probably our busiest station in the county, and from there we kind of work everything around. That's where our sergeants are stationed at, and we start our program from there. And then if we go north, 441, the new station's up there in the Evergreen subdivision. We have a full-time person at that station. Then as we come across the river, there at Ben Hall Lake, is Station 6, or the Buckeye Fire Department. We have just started within the last year having a full-time station there. And then we go down to 29, down close to Menor. We have a station there, and then we drop down on South Poplar Springs Church Road. We have a full-time station there. So we've kind of took the county and sectioned it out and try to have a first responder ready to go in each of our areas of the county.
And this major initiative, ladies and gentlemen, we want to share with you today during this show. We want to go out and actually show you where these locations are in our community. It's all about safety. It's all about taking care of our citizens. And again, it's been pointed out earlier with the increased call volume that comes year after year. This is one of the best things that Lawrence County's done in a long time.
We really see a lot of benefit in this program, having people on scene, not only for firefighting, but also from a medical standpoint. The majority of our calls are medical. Probably over 70% of our calls are medically related, and even some of our fire calls, it's always good to have a trained EMT, and we train ours to the advanced level so they can do advanced life support as well as just doing the basic EMT.
All right, so you're going to ride along with us. Stay tuned.
Imagine a life-changing injury. Imagine the fear and unknown. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team, the only physicians in the area with advanced certification in orthopedic sports medicine, treats sports injuries with innovative techniques. The Houston Clinic has helped nearly 1 million athletes live without pain. Imagine getting back in the game. Imagine the best game of your life. The Houston Clinic Sports Medicine Team.
And now we're at Valambrosia location, right, Don?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and this is a hub for the other locations. Is this a larger facility?
This station is a little bit larger than most of our facilities. It's also kind of the center of the county. We got a good road network here, so we can have quick response to any direction in the county. So that's kind of why we kind of set it up as our hub.
All right, now, Don, we were talking about how long the rural fire department has been in existence, and you said it was actually started in the 70s. Recap that story.
Well, it was started in the mid-70s when the county commissioners, they had the insight to see little fire departments in the small towns and said, well, we don't really have the protection out in the county that we need. So they put together a 5-man committee that started working on establishing little community fire departments throughout the county. And that from that beginning, we worked, and actually Mr. Harry Graham was the forester with the Georgia Forestry that was on that committee, and he made it instrumental for us to be able to get surplus equipment from the forestry, and then the forestry assisted in changing that equipment to make it what we call fire knockers and mobile water supplies, so we could have water out in the unincorporated areas of Lawrence County where we didn't have fire hydrants. And that was a very important thing, because the little towns, they were willing to go out and fight fires, but their engines didn't carry a lot of water. So that was an important thing in fighting fires back in that time, was having a sufficient supply of water. So that's how this program really has worked its way up to where we're at today.
So in 76, prior to 1976, only the little small communities who happen to have a small fire truck and volunteers there, that's the only network we had in the county.
Yes, sir. In unincorporated areas, that's all we had.
And really no water there, not enough.
Not in the form that we could use for fighting fire.
Yeah.
We had ponds and lakes, but no way to access it at that time.
And so from 76 and going forward up to 80 and then on into the 80s, the 80s when you actually named the specific roads, we put in a network for 911, I guess it was?
Yeah, the very early 80s, actually the fire committee was instrumental in establishing the road names throughout the county. And the community fire departments kindly assisted. They took the map with all the county roads on it, and they began to establish names for those roads. Now, some of them have changed over the years, but pretty much they're all the same as that was established in the very early 80s.
All right, well, you can tell the rain's falling out here today, and a lot of times whenever the rain starts falling, you mentioned earlier, that's the time where you have more calls.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the rain, but it seems that our calls increase, especially if we get a little heavy rain on I-16. We'll end up with several calls. I think we've got one going on I-16 right now.
All right, and so how many people are actually involved with Lawrence County Rescue, Lawrence County Fire, with EMS all together, including the different locations that we have now?
We have approximately 115 volunteers. Now, our volunteers, some of them are trained to what we call registered volunteer. Some of them are trained to Firefighter 1. Now, to be a paid firefighter in the state of Georgia, you must obtain that Firefighter 1 certification. But to be a volunteer, you only have to have registered volunteer. We try to stress to our folks the importance of going to Firefighter 1. So a large majority of our firefighters, even though they're volunteer, they have that Firefighter 1 and 2 certification. So they're very well trained to serve the community. We also have, we have 18 paid firefighters. And those are spread out in the 3 stations that we have been talking about as part of our hub that are manned 24/7. We have one person on duty there. So they are trained to that Firefighter 1 and 2 level, and they're also trained to the EMT I or A, or advanced EMT. So they can actually provide that advanced level of medical service to the community. Basically, we can get there before the ambulance does, so we start treatment before the ambulance gets to us.
So let's talk about the trained professionals now that we have at these sites throughout Lawrence County, the first responders who are trained to take care of you, ladies and gentlemen. If something happens, they can respond to you in a moment's notice prior to the ambulance, prior to the Lawrence County ambulances getting there. Tell us about that process.
Well, basically, we felt in the beginning that it was very important. If we were going to pay people to be in our fire department, it would be very important for them to be both medically trained, because the number of calls that we respond to, the percentage is medical calls. The high percentage is medical calls. Probably 70% of our calls are medically related. And even the other, when you got a fire, it's important we respond to ambulance to our structure fires because of the dangers that are there. So we've got medically trained people already in our midst, and they're there. Now, the important side of this is we carry AEDs. All of our fire stations have the automatic defibrillator, so we can, if somebody needs to be shot to get their heart started again, we have that capability. We have people that are trained to do that. Even our volunteers can do that. They are trained to do that. So we carry those in our pickups for quick response. So say we get a rural area, somebody calls in, they're having a heart attack. We can have a person on scene a lot quicker than it'll take for the ambulance to get there. So we can go ahead and start that very important treatment and have it going by the time the ambulance gets there, then they go right into their advanced procedures and we transport the patient. And we feel like we're seeing a real improvement in the survival rate that we're having in Lawrence County.
All right, and so what are the actual first responders called at the different sites in Lawrence County?
Basically, we call them our first responder network. They are firefighter EMTs, it would be their title, but they are trained in both. And as a fireman, we respond to everything from hazardous material to trees down to power lines down to the heart attack, the gunshot victim. We respond to it all.
All right. We'll take a short break and be back, and we'll meet one of these professionals that are out to serve us in Lawrence County. So stay tuned.
Come to Roach Farm and Garden and take home something beautiful. Our Gardens by the River has an excellent selection of statuaries, bird baths, fountains, and a wide variety of flowers, fruit trees, and shrubs. Or come inside and take a look at our decorative accents. Our friendly staff will help you find just what you need for your next outdoor project. And we carry those unique items that are hard to find. Come visit us today. Roach Farm and Garden, Dublin.
Roach Farm and Garden, growing traditions.
All right, and now we have with us first responder, Alan Williams. And Alan, thank you for joining us. How many years have you been part of Rural Fire Department?
Next month makes up my 11th year here. It's been a fun ride so far. Yeah. Been pretty enjoyable.
Yeah. Have you always had a desire to give back to the community, to do something like firefighting?
Well, you know, fresh out of high school, I thought I wanted to be a teacher. And then, so I went to college a little bit and decided that wasn't for me, so I opted for the fire service, and then it's been pretty enjoyable, like I say.
So how do you start out if there's a young man out there who might want to get involved, or a young lady wants to get involved with Rural Fire Department, with EMS, with being a first responder, with making a difference? What's the first step you had to make?
Well, the first thing I done was, you know, put in an application and get accepted, you know, kind of go through just like a job would be.
Yeah.
And then you'll get put on the department, and the department trains you. And then, you know, you go to EMT school. We do an in-house EMT class, as well as the tech school does EMT courses. So there's many avenues you can go to get trained.
Yeah. So you can get in touch with OFTC, but if you call, of course, you can get some advice as to what steps to take going through. But after that very first step, then you don't just stop there with training, do you?
No, sir. It's a career-long adventure, the training is. We basically just say, you know, the old saying is, if you ever quit training, you know, you don't learn nothing else, or, you know, you'll train until your career's over with. We'll always learn, and there's things change every day, every year. So we kind of train all the time to keep up on top of those things.
What you think about this program being distributed throughout Lawrence County?
I think it gets better every day with the chief's insight and all that stuff. We're progressing all the time. So right now I think we're in a good place. Going forward, we'll be even in a better place.
All right, so you're sitting in here with fire trucks, with first responder trucks. Of course, there are 3 different fire trucks in here. You have the equipment, you have the training. And now when people call, like when they call, you answer a call. Let's just talk about that process first, Alan.
Well, you know, naturally we're here doing day-to-day things when the tone goes off, and then we respond. So what type of call it is determines which one of these pieces of apparatus that we take, and then, you know, go from there. So then we arrive, and everybody else arrives on scene, and we kind of work as a team and get the job done.
So you get to an outline area, and then an ambulance has been called, but wherever you station, you're going to get there first.
Usually, yes, sir.
Yeah, and usually, what is it? And I know it depends, but let's say, you know, the fire department here, all right, the first responder unit here, and you're at the furthest distance you would go, and then the ambulance has to respond. It's going to save at least 5-10 minutes.
I'd say on an average, depending on which station it is, it's probably about 5 minutes usually.
Okay.
If everything's in place, the ambulances are where they're stationed at, and we're where we're stationed at, we're probably about 5 minutes ahead of them on an average.
Okay. All right, and so when you get there, what do? You quiz them on how they're feeling? You take...
All of us are trained to the same level as the guys that are on the ambulance, so we'll just initiate patient care. We'll start a patient assessment. You know, if there's some kind of technique needs to be performed on the person to change their situation, then we'll go ahead and do that too.
Okay. So what kind of advancement? Now you say if their heart were to stop, you have a.
Yes, sir. We have AEDs for that situation.
All right.
We have advanced airway adjuncts, things of that nature, IV stuff.
IVs.
Ahead of so we can perform those things that are in our scope of practice ahead of the ambulance arriving.
Yeah. Alan, it has to be rewarding to be able to help people to respond and to get there, and you one of the first people on the scene. Let's talk about something that really impacted you in life, because it has to impact you when you get there and you're there to help someone and they need your help drastically. We know that not every call is a severe emergency.
Right.
Sometimes you just have to help a little, but sometimes you have to help a lot. So let's talk about a couple things maybe that meant a lot to you.
Couple of calls, you talking about calls?
Calls.
So a couple of calls that's meant a pretty good bit to me over the years. Just recently, I think it was beginning of the fall 2018, we had a guy traveling down 117 just outside of Rents, in between Rents and Cadwell, and his heart stopped beating. And while he was actually driving the truck, and it was like a big 10-wheel truck, and the guys with him recognized it, and they somehow mysteriously got the truck stopped without it wrecking. And we actually had a firefighter, one of our career guys, was at the store where this happened at, and he recognized something was wrong, so he run across the street and they got the guy out, and he started CPR on him. And I think I got there in about 2 minutes from when they called us, and when the ambulance got there, we actually had a pulse back on him. So that was pretty positive. You know, that call in itself is enough to last the rest of my career as far as, you know, a driving force in it.
Yeah, yeah. You love making a difference, but when you save a life like that, you know, and who knows how many lives you save, because when you get there, you start procedures that are necessary in waiting for the next step. What would you say to a young person out there maybe might want to get involved?
I say this right here. My granddaddy told me when I was a little boy, he said, when you grow up, you find a job that you enjoy, and you'll never work another day in your life. So it's been a long time since I've worked. That, to me, that's the biggest thing about it. It's not like a job, because you're getting to do so many different things that's so positive that it's just really not like a job.
Yeah, that's awesome, Alan. That's what you want. You're not coming to work every day. It's a pleasure to be able to serve.
That's
the
exactly
community.
right.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
Ready for any challenge. Cordless power made by Steel, only from approved Steel dealers.
Cullen Supply and Engine Service, 910 East Jackson Street in Dublin and 826 South Harris, Sandersville. Count on Cullen's.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we moved our way up 441 North quite a ways, Don. We are at which station now?
This is station number 18 as far as the fire department is concerned, but this is Mr. W.T. Adams station. Mr. Buddy Adams donated the land for this station here, and he wanted it named after his father, which was very well recognized in the fire service, and Mr. Buddy has always been very helpful to us in the fire department also. So this station is named after his daddy, and it's also a voting precinct, so the people in this area can come up here and vote. And also our newest station. This is the last station we have built in Lawrence County.
All right, so we're making our way around, and this is, we drove a long way, Don.
Yeah, we went a few miles there. We went from basically I-16 up to, we were in 4 miles of the county line now.
Yeah.
We're in a fairly populated area here at the Evergreen subdivision. So we feel like it's a good location that's hadn't had as good a fire protection in the past as we needed here, so it's going to enhance our program in the coming years.
Now, we talk about this different equipment we're standing in front of. Tell us about this truck here.
Well, this truck here is a product of a new program that after the war was over and they started kind of spreading out some of the equipment that they had built up. This was a all-wheel drive chassis that the military was surplusing, and so the government come up with a program where they could allow public safety and especially the fire department to get some of this equipment to use in their own communities. So this program actually worked out where Georgia Forestry was able to screen this truck to be used here in Lawrence County. And when I say screen, they kindly put in a bid, hey, we need the truck here, and we were able to get that truck. We have 4 of them in Lawrence County. It cost us $100 for them to screen the truck and get it to us. These original cost of these trucks was well over $100,000, up into $150,000 range. That's just for the chassis. Now we had to take these to, we took them to Deep South, fire equipment, and refurbished that chassis. So they took that old military truck, was that old camouflage green, they repainted it, they redid everything on it, they put a 1,250 gallon per minute fire pump on it, and this truck has 3,000 gallons of water on it. Now the good part about this program, the old program that we got equipment from the forestry from, as long as we used it, it was ours and didn't cost us anything. But once we quit using it, it had to go back to them. Once we got this truck, put it in service, and run it in Lawrence County for 12 months, they transferred the title to us. So Lawrence County completely owns this truck now. And of course, we don't plan to get rid of it no time soon, but it will always be an asset of Lawrence County. It won't have to go back to the government.
This truck will go anywhere.
This truck will just about go anywhere and push about anything over, because we don't want to use it that way.
Yeah.
But it's all-wheel drive. It's high up off the ground, and that's one of the disadvantages to us, because as you'll see, some of our folks are not as tall, and you have to climb up to get in it. But it is well equipped for rural areas, and it provides us a lot of water, especially when we're out on structure fires.
Yeah. Yes, and so we talk about this area up here. It's a little heavier populated right around it, so these people will be able to take advantage of the first responder program.
Yes, sir. We have volunteers that serve up here. We haven't closed any of our fire stations. We just added on to them. And in that addition, we also put in that first responder here that's here 24 hours a day. So we not only enhance their ability to have fire protection by having a fire truck closer to them, we're also enhancing their way of life by having medical response a lot closer to them also. So we really feel like it's going to benefit this area a whole lot, more so in the future, but we're beginning to get this program together. This is a new station here, so we're beginning to get oriented in the community, and people are beginning to recognize it as being a very good asset to have. As our population gets older, we have more and more need for this type of training and this type of people to be there.
So we will take the opportunity now, ladies and gentlemen, to be able to meet another one of our first responders.
From humble beginnings with a desire to serve the Dudley community, Bank of Dudley has grown to 5 locations, serving Lawrence, Twiggs, and surrounding counties. Serving our community since 1905, the Bank of Dudley is looking forward to its 2nd century of community banking. Drop in today to any of our 5 locations: Jeffersonville, Dudley, East Dublin, Veterans Boulevard, and downtown Dublin. Bank of Dudley, member FDIC, and an equal housing lender.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, this is Cale Benton. Now, Cale, thank you for coming on with us today. Now, you work out at this location as an initial responder.
Yes, sir.
How long have you been part of the fire?
Altogether, including my the other county I work for, going on 6 years, but I've been here in May will be 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right, and so what are people in the area doing? They still call 911 in order to get response?
Yes, sir, they do. That'd be the quickest way to do it. I mean, on the count of 911 can give us exact locations. They can ping their cell phones or ping their landlines or whatever they need to do to get us a good location and get us the quickest response as possible.
Cale, what type of training have you had to be able to take this position?
Training, definitely went through the fire school and had to go through advanced EMT, which is a step above the basic EMT that they have now. We can do advanced airways, IVs, and give a few medical drugs as well.
Yeah. And how much training is involved to be able to do that? How many hours did you have to go through?
Altogether, it took me about 3 years to get where I'm at now, just with the training.
Yeah.
But it's been well worth it. I feel more that I can help people with what I have now than what I had to begin with. So.
Okay. So we want to talk about maybe the opportunity that somebody out there coming out of high school, somebody out there is looking for an opportunity. Is something they've thought about doing. What steps should they take to get involved?
First off, I'd go start with your local fire department. Start volunteering first, and get your foot in the door, see how you like it. You can get all kinds of training through these volunteer stations, especially with the Fire One class that Lawrence County puts on annually. They're actually doing one right now. I think they're pretty close to being done, but it's great knowledge. It really spoke out to me because I'm good with my hands. The fire department's my first love, and my first actual professional job coming out of high school. So I've been in it, and I'm not getting out of it anytime soon.
Yeah. And the class isn't so easy. I mean, there's quite a bit of information to go through.
It's a lot of information. It's also a lot of physical stuff too. So you have to make sure you maintain your physical abilities. We do live burns every year, just to keep us acquainted with the heat. What you're going to be going through, things you'd actually see in a live situation.
Yeah.
But it's great training. Like I said, I love it. And
what do you mean by a live burn?
We do a simulated live burn. We have a burn building up there at the office, Station 1, and we set a fire and let it smoke up in there, let the heat build up, and we go in there. We do our searches. We do our initial attacks. We take fire hose in there, charge it with water, and spray it down. Use our different attack patterns, and we also do down victims. Go in there where it's smoked up, where you can't see your hand in front of your face, and go in there and find them. And that's how we train, and we have to be prepared at all times. So.
Yeah, real life situation.
Yes, sir.
You don't know what it's going to be like if you haven't been there before.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's a yearly thing you do.
Yes, sir. We do. We have at least 2 burns per year. So that's everybody in the county is able to come to them at least one of their convenience, and all the volunteers are jam up when it comes to that. So yeah. You can't say one bad word about them. They're absolutely jam up.
All right. Well, Cale, let's talk just a little bit about maybe some of the experiences you've had over the years that maybe are rewarding to you.
Actually, just this morning we had in February we actually assisted in delivering on a baby, newborn baby. It was over here off Marley Cannon Road, and the lady that we assisted it with was at the office this morning and gave us little pamphlets, let us meet the baby, and that was very rewarding to me. She was in a place of distress at the time. She was at home by herself, didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
I ended up being the first one there, and if we can provide even a slight bit of calmness, that's great, because it takes stress off the baby, and takes stress off the mother as well. So, and she ended up delivering in the back of the ambulance when we got her in there. So that was very rewarding. I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah. So you got to get there. You got to give her the assurance, calm her down.
Yes, sir.
She had help at that point.
Yes, sir.
And then help was on the way. From the time you got there, Cale, how long did it take for the ambulance responded?
It took them a few minutes because they were coming off another call.
Yeah.
And they were responding from the hospital, so probably about 10, 12 minutes. But her, when you're delivering babies, they can come real quick. So.
Yeah, but 10 or 12 minutes, think about that, ladies and gentlemen, when you need help and you got another 10 to 12, 15 minutes ahead. That's what this program is all about. It's very valuable to our community. It is a major investment in our safety and going forward to be able to have first responders situated throughout our community. Thank you. Thank you, Cale, for what you do.
Appreciate it.
Portions of this program are brought to you by Curry Companies and Curry Residential, your Caldwell banker, providing real estate services since 1902.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're at Station 6, which is on the Buckeye Road. We're here with Jesse Weaver. Jesse, I understand that you are the youngest first responder we've had
Yes, sir.
in Lawrence County. Congratulations, son. That's all right. That's good.
Thank
And what made you want to get into being a firefighter or first responder?
I really didn't have no plans of doing it full time. I signed up for the volunteer class and went on through with that, and about time the class was finishing up, there was an opening, and I figured I'd go for it and see how I liked it, and I'm glad I did. I love it, love every day of it.
All right, now you grew up, went to West Lawrence.
That's right.
Tell us about, went through school, and at what part or what point did you start to get the training?
I started the volunteer firefighter program when I was a senior in high school, and I've started the EMT program since I've graduated, a couple months after I graduated from high school. And I just finished up the EMT portion of that class in January, and I'm almost done with the advanced portion of that class, and I'll be done with my EMT.
All right, what all's involved now? Let's talk about that. Just to be a basic volunteer, what did you have to do? What was the first stage?
To be a volunteer, that's you just sign up for a class. I believe it's about 40 hours. You do a little bit of hands-on training, a little bit of book work, and then there's a 100-question test at the end. You have to do a live burn and get checked off on that, and if you pass the test, pass the live burn, then you clear to start responding to calls.
Yeah. Tell me about that live burn. I understand that's kind of strenuous.
It's the volunteer live burn is not as bad. When you do fire one, you have to do above grade, below grade. You have to do several at one time, and that's a lot harder. With all the gear on, as hot as it is in there and everything, it's a lot harder to do them all at one time.
All right, that live burn though, you go into a burn situation, there's smoke, you dragging a hose. Tell me about it.
Yes, sir. We have a building set up. It's basically like Connex containers, 2-story. We build a fire in there with pallets and everything, let it get going good, let it get heated up in there, and then we work in teams of 4. We go in and we rotate. If you're on the nozzle, when you rotate back out, you're going to be at the back, and you just move up till you do all 4 rotations.
What about you said there were different levels?
Yes, sir. You have to. There's one where you just sit in the room with the fire. You have to watch the fire grow from the beginning to the fully developed fire, and then there's a at grade where you just come in and you fight the fire on the same floor that you're on. You start, there's one that's below grade, you start upstairs and come down into the basement, knock the fire down and back out, and you start on the ground, and you have to go upstairs and simulate putting a fire out upstairs.
Sounds pretty challenging.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. It's strenuous on your body.
Yes, sir. The heat is definitely the worst part.
Yeah.
With all that gear on it.
How much does the gear weigh?
I'm not sure. I would guess.
Heavy.
It's heavy.
Yeah.
It's heavy for sure.
And the hose is too.
That's right.
Yeah, because you're dragging that water through that heavy hose already, and that pressure's on it.
That's right.
Yeah. All right, so what do you tell people? And we're always looking for qualified young men who want to make a difference in the community. Let's talk about that first now. Tell us who your family is.
My mom and daddy, they're Fred and Michelle Weaver. My daddy grew up here in Lawrence County. My mama, she's not originally from here, but they don't have any background in the fire service. I was the first one to have any interest in that in my family.
Yeah, but Jesse, you want to give back. Obviously, you care about community. You were raised to care about others. Obviously,
that's right.
And that's a key in becoming a first responder, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You've got to want to help others to do it. Yeah. For sure.
So let's talk about some of the young people out there that maybe been thinking about it. They're 16, they're 17. You started in high school. You just went forward, and how did you start?
Pretty much whenever I was 17, I put in an application for the volunteer program, and got accepted into that. And like I say, it had to class twice a week, and it's 6 to 10, so you can work around the schedule. If you're still in high school, you still have time to do it and everything, but you've got to be 18 before you can be cleared to start responding to calls, the test out and everything.
Yeah. Oh, so you were pretty well prepared. All you had to do once you turned 18, you tested out, passed the test, and you moved forward.
That's right. I was completely done with the class when I turned 18. All I had to do was do my burn and take my test, and I was cleared at that point.
So how long have you been at this fire station?
My first day full time was September 11th of last year.
And what do people from the community come up out here? Do they come up and say anything to you? What kind of input do they give you out here?
They don't really ever stop by very often. I mean, around election time, you know, they're out here and people stop by and ask for directions time to time, but other than that, I don't really have people stop by.
So what's the last call you responded to, or what's some of the more recent calls you responded to?
Had a man last night having some diabetic problems, had a asthma attack before that, had a woods fire. It's mostly medical calls, but we have fires every now and then, wrecks, stuff like that.
Yeah, and in the time you've been out here, man, let's think about something that really made a difference. You responded to a call and you really saw how you're making a difference in somebody's life.
I went to a overdose and I felt like I really made a difference on that call. I got there, I had to start ventilating the person with a BVM, breathing for them, and everything like that. And I really felt like I made a difference on that call because he was in pretty bad shape whenever I got there.
You never know when something like that's going to happen, and the training that you've been through allows you to be able to help. So what do you think about this program with you all being spread out first responders all over the county to be able to respond faster?
I think it's a really good program because we beat the ambulance there by several minutes a lot of times, and you can do a lot in those few minutes to help somebody while you're waiting on the ambulance, and especially if you have to wait on the ambulance coming from the other side of town, and or if it's just a fall or something, you know, we can go help the person up and don't have to tie up an ambulance for that when they could be doing something else.
Yeah, awesome. Well, we thank you for what you're doing, Jesse. Best of luck to you.
Appreciate it.
Hey, how you doing? Eric Kate City.
I'm good.
Brad Grimes.
I think I'm smelling some gas in my yard out here.
All right, and what area are you smelling at?
Over here in this area, the meter's on that side over there.
Okay, what we're gonna do is we're gonna check the meter and make sure there's not a leak there.
Okay.
Then we'll locate the line out and put down a couple holes just to check on the ground to make sure you don't have a leak. We'll check each corner of your house. If you could, just stay on the porch.
Okay.
If you think you have a gas leak, we're on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Call us at 478-277-5048.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Mr. Nick Ivy at number 8 Fire Station here in Mentor. And how long have you been here, Nick?
About 2 years.
All right. And so you have a real background in serving our nation, serving the community, right?
Yes, sir.
Tell
Marine
us
Corps.
about it.
I spent 20 years in the Marine Corps, retired in 2013.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Yeah, so you live in Kite?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you work here every day. You're always available.
Well, every third day.
Every
24 on,
third.
48 off.
Okay. Tell us about your training.
For the fire service?
Yes.
Well, I'm firefighter 1, and that's about the extent of the training that I have right now. I have done extrication training on the side.
What's that?
Working on extracting people from vehicles whenever they are trapped inside.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so in this part of the community, you serve a pretty large area out here on the east side, don't
Yes,
you?
sir.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of the people you've been able to help in the community.
Okay. Just various people, you know, helping with fires being put out, medical calls. Most of the calls we do end up being medical calls, and, you know, we go out and assist EMS with those.
Okay. All right, so as part of the first responder program being spread out all over the county, here you are on the east side, you're here in Mentor community, you respond to someone, let's say, you know, further east, you get there, you're set up, you're able to help the people. How long on average is it going to take an ambulance to be able to get out here on the east side?
It's according to where it's at. Like you said, the further east we go, usually they're within about 5 or 10 minutes. You know, if it's closer to the town, there are times that they actually beat us there.
Yeah, yeah. But out on this side, you're able to serve very well, and you
Yes,
got
sir.
a great community, a supportive community. I know they're glad, and we just want to be able to come out and let people know that there are first responders 24 hours a day available
Yes,
to
sir.
be able to help throughout Lawrence County to save lives. So within the past 2 years, any particular story you may want to share with us, somebody you really helped, somebody you made a difference with?
Right offhand, I can't really pop one off in my head.
And what's your goals in the long run? What would you like to do as far as
Well,
our
I
community?
enjoy the fire service, so I mean, I definitely want to stay there. And right now, I would love to get into the training side of it.
Yeah. And so you encourage others. What would you say to young people maybe coming along, want to be a part of firefighting?
I'm all for it. In fact, my kid wants to, both of them want to be firefighters. That's all they talk about. One's 4, one's 2. So.
Awesome. All right, Nick. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you.
It's Nick Ivey, everyone.
So what makes OFTC a top choice for college? Here's why. You get hands-on training, and OFTC instructors have years of industry experience. You see, when you have access to that kind of knowledge, it makes a difference. And with financial aid, grants, and scholarships, OFTC is affordable. You can step into your new career debt-free. Think differently about college and make Coney Fall Line Technical College your top choice. Registration begins May 1st and classes start May 16th. OFTC is an equal opportunity institution.
Now we're back with you, and we really hope you enjoyed the interview with Don Bryant. So in going forward, we look at all that equipment, we look at all that opportunity to be able to serve the community. I was astonished, not only with the talent, with the people who are there to serve, those good-hearted people who want to serve the community, who are there, trained professionals, paid professionals. Right, Brian?
Yeah. Yeah, they are. All the ones that are 24/7, they are paid staff.
Yeah. And how much difference it can make in that first 5 to 10 and sometimes 15 minutes before an ambulance can get there to an individual. So you need to take advantage of the service, ladies and gentlemen. Be proud of what our Lawrence County commissioners are doing. But beyond those individuals and those units that have been put together, state of the art, is the equipment in there, the trucks in there, the massive fire trucks that we have.
So yes, we have a lot of equipment in there, and a lot of people say, well, golly, why do you got to have this? Why do you have that? Well, another initiative by the commissioners several years ago was to try to get our ISO rating lowered. And
what's ISO?
I don't know what it stands for. It's tied to your homeowner's insurance. Yeah. So, but the ISO classification that you have is what rates how much your homeowner's insurance will be. If you don't have we're a 5.9, which is great. Up above 10 is no coverage. It can make anywhere from $1,000, $1,500 difference in your homeowner's insurance every year. Mm-hmm. So there's quite a bit of dollars. So the commissioners put out the initiative. We were going to go and lower our ISO rating, which could provide the capabilities of fight a fire if we needed to, but also give the added benefit of lowering homeowners insurance for citizens. Yeah. So we were able to do that, thanks to the citizens voting in the SPLOST. That was taken care of, but we've tried to do it as efficiently as possible. A brand new fire truck may cost upwards over $300,000. Here lately, we've been embarking on a new program where we have purchased some low mileage military chassis. Get them for a couple $1,000s through the federal surplus. Mm-hmm. We then send them to our, who we would normally be buying our fire trucks with, and they would totally redo the truck, put all new pumpers, everything on it. So everything is retrofitted with brand new equipment, and we've got less than $100,000 in that fire truck. And you saw some of them are beasts. I mean, these are military-sized trucks. We mainly run them in the rural areas because you have a lot of dirt roads, a lot of obstacles, things like that. Yeah. But these trucks are very well equipped for that. But the reason for all the fire truck equipment, is to fight the fire. But also, the more we have, the lower our ISO rating will be. From you got to have a certain amount of pumpers, you got to have a certain amount of water buffaloes, as I like to call them, that actually just shuffle water back and forth. And all that plays into the ISO rating, which we just started we're just starting our new ISO rating. About every 3 or 4 years is when they come to it. And the guy just started this month looking at us, and we're hoping we would maintain and possibly even lower our ISO rating, which will then again give an even better benefit to the citizens.
So what you're saying, Brian, is for investing pennies as citizens for the splash, we've saved thousands of dollars on our homeowners.
Definitely, because you think it's year after year. I can promise you, talk to your insurance agents. If you don't have fire coverage, your homeowner's insurance is going to be $1,000 or several $1,000s more a year. So the sales tax dollars have been put to good use and are giving a return on investment to the citizens back year after year on their homeowners insurance.
It's good money spent for the commissioners, for the community,
Yeah,
Brian.
excellent. It's excellent money.
All right, and so when we move on, we have to look at the other arm of health care, of providing adequate care for our citizens in rural and inside the city limits. And we have Terry Cobb at EMS, right?
Yes, and Terry and his crew are second to none. Several years ago, our EMS organization was voted the state's best EMS organization. I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, but we were very proud of being recognized as that. There again, that's another, I applaud the commissioners for being aware enough to see what we needed to be investing our money in, the training, the employees, the equipment that we have. It's just like, you couldn't find better equipment if you were in downtown Atlanta. All our trucks are equipped with the life-saving equipment that automatically when we get on scene, it starts transmitting your body information via airways to the emergency room doctor. There's an emergency room doctor that the paramedic stuff are discussing your situation with. He's sitting there looking at all your vital signs, and then if medicines need to start being pushed, those paramedics are there pushing those meds via the doctor's orders, and then we're getting you packed up and ready to go. So we're actually treating you. We're not just a snatch and grab operation. Here we don't just try to pick you up and get you to the hospital as soon as we can because we're too big for that. So we're actually there assessing you. We're starting treatment on the scene and then treating you all the way to the hospital.
All right. And once again, Brian is lined up for us to be able to go out and visit with Terry Cobb. We'll take a short break. We'll be back, and then we'll be there with Terry Cobb at EMS.
Hi, I'm Chuck Harwell from Community Bank, and I would like to remind you that we're here to help you with all your financial needs. We can help you with loans for almost everything from getting married, buying your first car, getting ready for a new baby, buying a house, or going to college. You see, we're the bank that lives up to our name, Community Bank of Dublin-Lawrence County. We're Community Bank of Dublin-Lawrence County, where common sense banking never goes out of style.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, now we take you to the next phase of our process of being able to explain to you how Lawrence County Commissioners, Lawrence County Administrator make our community safer. And we are now speaking with EMS Director Terry Cobb. And Terry, thank you for taking time out. You got a real busy job, man. You have a lot going on, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I appreciate y'all coming out and doing this piece, Ron.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, first of all, you and your family, just so people understand. You might be just reminding some people who all you got there, but go ahead.
So, married to Tanya Cobb. We have 2 daughters, Taylor and Tana. Taylor's a recent graduate of West Lawrence High School, and Tana's a student at West Lawrence Middle School.
Yeah. And you longtime members of the community, now you have a lot of experience in EMS. You're now the director, and you've been the director here in Lawrence County for how many years?
17 years.
That's awesome, man.
Yep.
That's a lot of experience under your belt. You've seen a lot of things happen, though. You really have. And a lot of things develop and grow. So when you first came on as a director, how many ambulances do we have to work with?
Well, we currently have 11 in our fleet right now, and we operate 5 every day.
And when you first came, did we have that to work with, or has it grown?
We run 3 trucks 24 hours a day, and we had 1 16-hour truck whenever I started here in 1995.
Yeah. Now, prior to coming here, you had several years of experience in counties around us, right?
I did. I worked in Blakely County for 2 or 3 years, and I worked in Telfair County for a year.
Yeah, so you brought a lot of knowledge, and you've been able to be instrumental and see a lot of growth. And I guess you'd say thanks to county commissioners, to county administrator.
Absolutely.
You've been able to grow it.
It has, and it's a partnership because, we work through them to provide service to the citizens. So, we work up under the Board of Commissioners and the county administrator and provide service to the citizens, but they're certainly instrumental in the care and the service that we're able to deliver.
Yeah, you got to have a budget to work with. Don't
That's
you?
right.
You sure do. Now, we spoke with the county administrator, Brian Rogers. We spoke with Chief Bryant, and they explained to us the new process of having first responders out in our community on a 24-hour basis in order to serve the growing need in our community for the people in the outlying area, in a more rural area. Now, you have stations set up already and have for a long time right around the city perimeter in order to serve not only the city but out into the county, right?
That's right. And so our stations are positioned on the outer fringes of the city, just like you spoke of, so that they still have quick access out into the county, but they also have quick access into the city. Call volumes tend to follow populations, so the denser populations in the cities where we have more call volumes at, but being the third largest county in the state of Georgia, we have a lot of territory that we have to cover. So the fire department, with their man stations and EMTs, they're able to reach some of the outlying areas quicker than we are and start rendering care before we get there.
All right, so we talked to them and understood a little bit about EMTs. Now, EMTs, you also have EMTs on the ambulances. Are they usually the drivers as well?
Typically on an advanced call, the EMT will be driving the ambulance and the paramedic will be in the back rendering care, but they do swap out, so sometimes the EMT is the attendant and the paramedic will drive.
Yeah. Okay, so for those who are very limited on medical knowledge or what have you, what's the difference between an EMT and the training and what's a paramedic?
So the EMT training is approximately a year. It's all the baseline training, splinting, IVs. They do a considerable amount of airways, not quite as many as the paramedic does. They do a few drug administrations, but the paramedics do the most part of the drug administrations, cardiac pacing, cardioverting, and the more advanced airways. So the EMT is kind of our entry-level position, and then the paramedic is the higher level between the two.
And we've been trying to relate to the public because of this investment, because of the pride that the county commissioners, county administrators are taking in the fact that they want to provide more service, more health care service, be quicker to respond to the needs of our citizens, our people in the county especially, that they have the EMTs in place as first responders, as firemen, and then they have those steps that they take, and then you all come in, the paramedics, when the ambulance shows up, you're able to pick up from there. So you may save anywhere from 3 to 12, 15 minutes sometimes, couldn't you?
That's correct. And when their guys get there, it's kind of like I was telling you earlier, if there's 5 to 7 steps that we want to take care of in a particular patient, when they get there, they'll start with steps 1, 2, and 3. And then when our guys get there, they'll pick up where they leave off at, and then we'll continue on. So the work that they're doing is necessary. It's work that we're going to do whenever we get there, so we'll pick up where they leave off. So when they get on scene, they're rendering the same aid that we're going to render when we first get on scene, so that when we get there, we'll pick up where they leave off and provide good care to the patients.
And then you also spoke a little bit earlier, Terry, of this next step. If you're the second block of the transition, then the third being the hospital.
Yeah, so we all try to anticipate what we are going to do in our step, as well as what the next step is going to provide. So case in point's 12 lead EKGs. We do 12 lead EKGs in the field, and we transmit them to the emergency room. Not so much for what it does for us, but it allows the ER to better prepare for the patient before they get there. Sometimes they'll alert the cath lab team and have them actually come into the hospital even before the patient gets there. So,
what you mean by 12 lead EKGs?
So when you're looking at the heart, we typically look in a 3-lead fashion. We have 3 leads. So in a 12 lead, it's actually looking from multiple angles. So it's like taking a pie. And you slice a pie and you look at it from this angle, and then you look at it from this angle. So you're looking at it from more angles on a 12-lead EKG. So that's where you typically see changes when somebody's actually having a heart attack. So we're just looking at more views of the heart.
So obviously the technology has gotten quite advanced. How are you at being able to communicate in the very rural area with the hospital? Do you have good service everywhere?
We do, and we predominantly communicate with them on the 2-way radio still. We'll sometimes use cell phones, but we have good communication with them.
And then how many people do you employ on the EMS side?
So we have roughly 65 EMTs and paramedics that work for us. We staff 5 trucks a day, which is 10, so we run 10 at any given time with a staff of about 65.
And how many on call at most times?
usually 10 at any given time. We'll have 10.
Having 5 ambulances and 2 man per ambulance. What is an ambulance equipped to handle?
Our EMS is geared towards a broad spectrum in healthcare, but with a main focus on emergency and in the first period of someone's emergency. So we cover every spectrum of healthcare, but only the beginning segment of it. So we have kind of a broad yet focused area that we actually work in.
You concentrate on the initial part, assessment, and then getting them to a hospital, to a caregiving facility. Okay, now we talk about the growth of senior citizens in our society. It's all over. You know, and obviously here in Lawrence County, we have older citizens, older people, and the older you get, the more problems you're going to have, the more issues you're going to have. So in responding to those and thinking about what you respond to, what times of the day or what types of situations do you mostly face?
It's a pretty broad spectrum from medical to trauma. Our busier times of the day are usually from around 2 in the afternoon till probably 11 or 12 at night. Usually our busier times. And you're absolutely right. With the baby boomers all becoming of age, as we all age, we're all going to get health problems. So we have America has, you know, the baby boomers are getting a little bit older now. So we're seeing a little quicker increase in our call volume in recent years than we may have in, say, 10 or 12 years ago.
Yeah. We spoke with Chief Bryant about how to begin being involved as a first responder, an EMT. Do you also have doors that'll open through a beginning EMT and openings with EMS here in Lawrence County?
We do, and you have to be certified to be able to work with us. So Oconee Fall Line Technical College is our source for doing most of our initial training. So you do have to be certified when you come to work for us. So you know, people wanting to get into EMS can approach the tech school and explore getting into a program there.
What's probably the most rewarding part of your job, Terry?
It's being able to help people. It's just being able to help people in a time of need.
Yeah, it has to be real rewarding. What are some of the greater stories that we have of ambulances, paramedics responding over the last few years? You think of any that were just incredible stories?
We have a lot of them, but with the HIPAA laws, it's really hard to to discuss.
Not so much names, but being able to respond and to save that life.
Yeah, so usually every year we usually have 2 or 3 successful stories where we're able to resuscitate somebody from being in cardiac arrest and they actually survive to a meaningful discharge. We always enjoy those. We've had a few recent good childbirth calls where we've had some difficult outcomes, some difficult circumstances that yielded some really good outcomes. So
yeah, that is special.
Yep.
Yeah, and most people think, okay, they see you working wrecks. They see the accidents happen and the ambulance shows up and, you know, first responders there and they're working a traffic and, you know, maybe somebody's injured, they put them in the ambulance. But so many times they don't see what you do in and out of the more rural areas and helping the citizens who need help. But what do you tell people if they are hesitant to call 911?
Well, if anyone thinks that they have a medical emergency, we'd rather them call 911 and let us come out and try to help them out. You know, one of the things that we were talking about recently is, you know, trying to get people who think they may be having a heart attack or a stroke to call 911 and to access the emergency room, because time is of the essence. And you know, we have a wonderful group of physicians and facilities here providing good care, but if you think you're having a heart attack or a stroke, you know, don't hesitate, don't wait to see if it gets better, don't drive to your primary care physician, call 911 and let us come out.
Yeah, and if I may, you know, a lot of men are hard-headed, and they don't want to make that call, they don't want to bother anybody, it's probably nothing, but you're under no obligation for you to come out to assess the situation and then give them a qualified answer, a qualified determination as to what's going on with you. and if you need to get in that ambulance, if you need to get to the hospital.
That's absolutely right. So until we transport, there's no, there's no charges incurred. So
yeah. We got a big county, as you say, and time is of the essence when somebody is not well, if they think they're having a heart attack, they're sick in some way, dehydrated sometimes. Issues like that can really get serious in a hurry. If you call 911, Terry Cobb's staff obviously come out to help you. We have the first responders, the EMTs in the community now at the locations we've shown you throughout the show to be able to respond to you. Much more importantly, if you need transportation, you're being transported, and they communicate with the doctor. If it's a later time, this is of the essence, because then the doctor has time to get in if they don't have a heart doctor standing right there, which, at sometimes the doctor may not be there, but they get there very quickly. From what I understand, most or all of our doctors live right around the hospital so that they're able to respond in a very efficient time to help us. So we just want to encourage you, make sure you're educated on what's available through here. And again, we thank you for what you do, Terry.
I appreciate y'all, Ron. Thank y'all for coming out.
Jet Food Stores is proud to partner with Marathon Petroleum. And right now you can save 40 cents a gallon off the first fill-up just by texting Jet Food to 40244 with the Make It Count loyalty program. And save 5 cents a gallon every time you visit your neighborhood Jet Food Store branded Marathon. Brand new fuel pumps and Marathon's high-quality fuel using STP additives will help your car run smoother and last longer. Stop in today and make sure you text Jet Food to 40244 right now and start saving. Jet Food Stores and Marathon, a winning combination.
And now we welcome you back, ladies and gentlemen. What an experience it's been for me to be able to go out and speak with Don Bryant, with Terry Cobb, and to see the type of operation that is instrumental in helping us throughout our community, throughout the city of Dublin and Lawrence County, and it's all in one. And Brian, we appreciate what you all have done in putting all that together. And going forward, I guess it all starts with 911.
It does. I definitely want to throw a plug to them, because when you make that call, all our emergency services are originating from there. Those ladies do just a tremendous job down there. Russ Palmer is our director. He's done a great job, and the staff, everybody kind of forgets them, but they're down there in that little dungeon of theirs. And but those ladies, and we got a few gentlemen down there also. They're professional. They're all emergency medically trained to give medical guidance over the phone. So when you call 911, you may not know how to do CPR or anything like that. Our operators are trained to teach you how to do that on the spot, to do other things. Someone's choking, just a lot of different medical procedures that a layman can do if someone would just tell them and show them how to do it. So all of our dispatchers are certified in that, and they do a great job. So I can't say enough about Russ, his staff, Terry Cobb, and all of his EMS staff, and Don Bryant, and certainly all their staff. So we've got a lot to be proud of. Just as you've been really shocked about it, a lot of people just don't realize the level of service that we're providing here. And I don't say that braggingly, I say that proudly.
Yes.
Because we have worked very hard in it. All the employees trained to be the best, and they are the best. I'm going to tell you, I would rather have our group of people coming through the doors helping me than anywhere else in the state or in the country, because I know what they do. I know the level of training that they provide, and how dedicated they are. So.
And we talk about this, and we want you to share it. If you see it over the air, if you want to share with someone, of course, we have a YouTube channel, TV 35, WDIG. You can share it with people all over the community, no matter where they are, so that they understand the great investment that our county commissioners are making for all of our citizens. And I mentioned our online presence. You guys have a great online presence. You revamped your web page, and we're able to go on now as citizens of Dublin and Lawrence County and enter information for any issue we have, and it reaches someone immediately.
It does. That was one of the focal points that the commissioners have kind of looked at also, is making ourselves more accessible to the public. We invested into a very high-tech website that allows you to fill out a complaint right on the form. You can drop a pin right where the issue's at. The correct department's going to get the complaint based on what it is, but it's also, all of them are going to come to me also, and I can promise you I'm going to look at every one of them, and I want to respond back as quickly as possible so you'll see that, hey, I'm getting that service. I'd much rather you go on our website, report a problem, than go on Facebook and just, say, hey, I wish somebody'd fix that pothole on such and such road or whatever. Look, send me the email, go online, fill it out, and that's the only way I'm going to know. I don't do Facebook, but I do the website. I look at my emails all the time, and we'll get it fixed and we'll get it done quickly. I promise you. Like I said, our Board of Commissioners are to be commended for the wonderful job they're doing. They are spending the public dollars in a manner that it needs to be spent. We're just not throwing it for different things. We're looking at the life safety, services that we can provide, the website services from law enforcement to all of our administrative. I can't say enough about all our county employees from the recreation department to the city's employees. We've got a lot to be thankful for here in Lawrence County.
We certainly do, and we've been really privileged to be able to share it with you, ladies and gentlemen. Again, coming to you from Lawrence County Commissioner's Office, Brian Rogers here, the County Administrator. We thank you for joining us right here on TV 35.
Thank you for having us.